There is a version of flight attendant professionalism that exists in the shiny corporate training manuals. In that manual, we are poised, we are gracious, we are the calm, capable presence at 35,000 feet, delivering beverages with a perfect, crisp smile. But then there is real life. Real life is being trapped inside a pressurized metal tube with 300 unpredictable human beings. Some are delightful, and some push you to the absolute outer limits of human patience. And when you cross a flight attendant who controls your food, your drinks, and your entire airborne experience, well, let's just say my motto quickly became, everything is fine until people. If you've ever worked in customer service, or if you've ever just been forced to smile while someone disrespects you to your face, this video is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and get ready for 2 stories of sweet, quiet, and deeply petty revenge. Trust me, you are going to feel so vindicated by the end of this. Listen, I am not proud of the moments I'm about to share with you, but I'm also not proud of them. You can judge me if you want, but put yourself in my standard issue sensible shoes for a minute. Let's start with a day where I wasn't even technically working, which honestly somehow makes the disrespect feel worse. I was non-revving with my partner. That's industry slang for flying on a free ticket on my day off. I'm in street clothes, just a regular passenger trying to enjoy a vacation to Cancun. Except I'm not a regular passenger. Because when you do this job for a living, you can't turn off the part of your brain that clocks every single thing happening in the cabin. Your radar is always on. We were seated in seats D and E. Directly across the aisle from us, in seats A and B, were 2 women in their early 20s. And from the exact second they stepped onto the aircraft, they brought a very specific, suffocating energy with them. You know exactly the type of people I'm talking about. Every public action is an audition for Bravo. Everything is performative. Every sentence is projected at a volume specifically designed to make sure the entire zip code overhears them. It was a constant barrage of exaggerated gasps, shrieks, and narrating their own lives like they were the stars of a reality show that the rest of us were being held hostage in. Now let me be clear, I am not the fun police. If you want to laugh, giggle, and kick off your vacation, I genuinely love that for you. But there is a volume threshold in shared spaces. When you are flying commercial, you are sharing recirculated air with hundreds of tired, stressed-out strangers. Have some self-awareness. These 2 ladies, they blew past any reasonable person's tolerance level about 10 minutes into the boarding process. It didn't stop when the doors closed. It didn't stop during takeoff. 45 minutes into what was going to be a 5-hour flight, they had escalated to the shrieking, scream-laughing, slapping each other on the arm stage. My partner and I couldn't even hear each other speak. The older couple in front of them looked miserable. The tension in our section of the plane was palpable. So I decided to do what any reasonable adult would do. I leaned forward across the aisle. I caught one of their eyes. I smiled, gave a friendly little wave, and in the calmest, most neutral customer service voice I could manage, I said, "Hey, would you girls mind bringing it down just a notch?" I even gave the universal friendly hand sign for turn it down, twisting an invisible volume knob. There was zero attitude in my voice, zero edge. I wasn't trying to parent them or embarrass them. It was just a polite, neighborly request to recalibrate. They did not appreciate it. The smile immediately dropped off the girl's face. She turned back to her friend, who was sitting exactly 11 inches away from her, and loudly, without even attempting to whisper, snapped, "This bitch is telling us to shut up." My stomach dropped, not out of fear, but out of that hot, prickly spike of sheer indignation. You try to treat people with basic adult respect, and they instantly weaponize it. For the next 20 minutes, she loudly recapped my polite request to her friend, over and over and over again, making sure I could hear every single insult. At this point, I am still behaving. I am taking deep breaths. I am choosing peace. I am staring straight ahead, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. And then, the beverage service began. The working flight attendant rolls the cart down our aisle. When she gets to the influencers, they aggressively order 2 beers. Now, this is where my professional radar kicked back in. You see, while I was waiting at the gate before boarding, I had been watching these 2. They had been at the airport bar. They had been drinking heavily before they even stepped onto the jet bridge. They were absolutely not starting from zero. The working flight attendant hands them their beers and turns to me across the aisle to ask for my drink order. I looked at the flight attendant. I looked at the two girls who were currently smirking at me. And in that moment, a wave of deep, clarifying calm washed over me. I leaned in just slightly toward the flight attendant, and in a quiet, measured voice, I said, "Hey, just a heads up. I'm a flight attendant with Delta. I saw those two girls having quite a bit to drink at the gate before we boarded. I just want to make sure we're not over-serving them today." The working flight attendant's eyes widened slightly in understanding. She gave me a tiny, almost imperceptible nod, and that was it. The flight attendant immediately reached over, apologized, and took the beers right back out of their hands, citing safety regulations. No more drinks for the girls for the rest of the 5-hour flight. Was it a massive, dramatic consequence? No, but it was a quiet, suffocating inconvenience that instantly dampened their obnoxious vibe. They spent the rest of the flight sulking in miserable silence. I sat back in my seat, fully aware of the incredibly petty thing I had just done. Was it strictly necessary? Debatable. Did it feel like a warm, euphoric wave of justice washing over my soul? Absolutely. I felt like I had single-handedly brought balance to the universe. And let me tell you, the vodka club sodas I drank for the rest of that flight tasted like pure, unadulterated victory. If you think cutting off a couple of annoying 20-somethings is satisfying, buckle up, because this next story takes place in an entirely different arena, the Ego Dome. I was working as the lead flight attendant on a rotation specifically assigned to first class on a flight from JFK in New York to LAX in Los Angeles. If you know this route, you know it has a very specific, demanding personality. Everyone on that plane believes they are either vastly important, adjacent to someone vastly important, or on the absolute brink of becoming vastly important. It's a cabin filled with A-listers, D-listers, and corporate executives who treat the cabin crew like personal furniture. Now, generally, I roll with the punches. I believe every flight can be a great experience. If passengers want a little extra sparkle or a little extra attention, fine, I will meet them there. I'm a professional. But then there was the woman in seat 2B. She came in hot, but not loud. No, she had that quiet, non-verbal rudeness that somehow burrows under your skin much faster than screaming ever could. She boarded the plane as if the very air inside the cabin was offensive to her. She wore head-to-toe designer, huge sunglasses, and carried an aura of absolute contempt. When I asked her to kindly turn her phone to airplane mode, she gave me a huffy, exaggerated exhale, like I had just asked her to scrub the lavatory. When I approached her with a hanger and a warm smile, offering to hang her heavy winter coat, she slowly looked me up and down, rolled her eyes, and sneered, I'll keep the scarf. She looked at me like I had just suggested something deeply inappropriate. Bitch, come on. It is December in New York. You are sitting in first class. You know I am required to offer to take your coat. Meanwhile, the rest of the cabin was perfectly normal. The guy sitting across the aisle in 2C actually caught my eye after one of her more dramatic, aggressive sighs. He gave me that universal, wide-eyed look of solidarity that said, "Is she serious right now?" I gave him a tight smile. I appreciated the sympathy, but at this point, I shifted into kill them with kindness mode on pure principle. I refused to let her break my professionalism. I smiled brighter. My posture got straighter. The flight took off smoothly, and then the premium beverage service began. Let me pause here and explain the choreography of this service, because the details matter. On this specific premium transcontinental route, the service is elevated. It's not just tossing you a plastic cup and a bag of pretzels. We deliver the first round of drinks alongside a ramekin of warmed mixed nuts. The protocol is strict. We place a crisp linen-style napkin on your tray table. We place the warm nuts on the napkin. We take your drink order. We deliver your drink. We move to the next seat. It is designed to feel intimate, luxurious, and precise. Now, if you have never thought deeply about a napkin on an airplane before, let me ruin your innocence. In first class, a crisp, perfectly dry napkin is part of the psychological experience of luxury. It's a small detail, but it subconsciously signals cleanliness and care. Personally, I am autistic and I have major sensory issues. The mere thought of touching a damp, mysterious, wet napkin makes me physically gag. If a napkin is wet, my brain immediately screams, what is the wetness from? Condensation? Spit? Galley water? It's a sensory nightmare. So I'm in the galley. I am preparing the drink for the icy ice queen in 2B. I am scooping ice. And as I'm working, one of the crisp white napkins on my prep station accidentally brushes against a piece of melting ice. It wasn't soaking wet. It wasn't dripping. It wasn't even technically unusable. It was just damp, slightly compromised, holding just enough moisture to feel deeply displeasing to the human touch. Right next to it sat a stack of 50 fresh, perfectly folded, bone-dry napkins. I reached for a dry one, and then I stopped. I looked at the dry napkin. I looked at the slightly damp napkin. I thought about her eye roll. I thought about the huffy exhale. I thought about how she looked at me like I was something she scraped off the bottom of her designer shoe. I made a choice. I picked up the damp napkin. I walked out of the galley. I approached seat 2B. I looked her right in the eyes, gave her the warmest, most radiant customer service smile I could summon, and I gently set that cold, moist napkin right on her tray table, followed by her warm nuts and her expensive drink. I didn't break eye contact. I said, "Enjoy," and I smoothly walked away. To some of you watching this, that might sound entirely meaningless, but I promise you, in the rigid, hyper-controlled environment of a metal tube in the sky, it felt diabolically petty. It was just enough moisture for her to register, subconsciously, that something was not quite right with her luxury experience. Just enough for her to touch it and feel a tiny flash of disgust. She never said a word to me about it, but as I watched her gingerly pick up her drink with 2 fingers, trying to avoid the damp linen, I want to believe she knew. Deep down in her cold, entitled heart, I want to believe she knew exactly why she got the moist napkin. She's just lucky a damp napkin is all she got. Because I won't even get into the trick a veteran flight attendant taught me about how stirring a Diet Coke with a finger that just swiped a little grease from the side of your nose will make the foam settle instantly. Don't worry, I've never actually done that one, probably. Here is the ultimate takeaway, folks. You are never going to find micro-petty retaliation strategies written in a Delta training manual. But when you spend enough time in the air, dealing with the absolute extreme spectrum of human entitlement, you learn how to survive. 99% of the time, service workers will choose kindness. We choose patience. We want you to have a safe, pleasant flight. But every once in a while, if you are rude enough, arrogant enough, or just committed enough to treating us like garbage, the universe has a way of balancing the scales. You might not get the beer, or you might just get the bad napkin. All right, I have to know. Have you ever worked a job where you had to smile through the disrespect? What is the absolute most satisfying, deeply petty revenge you've ever gotten away with at work? The kind of payback you can only admit to anonymously? Do not hold back. I want you to drop your most savage, petty revenge stories in the comments right now. I am reading every single one, and I might just feature the absolute best one in a future video. If this story gave you life today, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Until next time, remember to share the air and always be nice to the people who handle your food. See you in the next one. In the next.